Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Daily Defender. Glad to be with everybody again. So glad you're with us. Apologize. Unfortunately, I seem to be making these apologies quite a bit, but apologize for the delay in between videos. Just a bunch of crazy things going on, but so glad to be back with you guys. Glad you're back with us, spending some time with us. Interested in what we have to say, so really appreciate that. Of course, a very warm welcome to all the new subscribers, a warm welcome back to all of our current subscribers and viewers. Great to be with everybody again, as always. Please continue to support the channel. Comments of late have been fantastic, so really appreciate you guys with those comments. The interaction is fantastic. So just really glad to be with everybody and getting another video out. I had every intention of doing, and I think I've said this before, I've had every intention of doing another Smith & Wesson revolver video. In fact, I had a Model 15 kind of all ready to go, and this kind of came across my table, and it dovetailed into some of the more recent SIG videos I had done. So I just wanted to get this one out to you guys. And it's a really interesting firearm from SIG. This is a p224. And one that maybe not everybody recognizes or even knew that they made, because they only made it for about 5 years. And we'll get into all those specifics in the deep dive. But it's basically a cut down or even chopped down 229, 228, maybe even a 226, depending how you look at it. I think it's closer to a cut down 229 or 228. And kind of a baby Glock kind of concept, if you will, within the SIG line. Kind of that smaller, chopped down, bulkier, blocky kind of subcompact. So that's what we're going to talk about today, the SIG P224. It's got a lot of interesting little bits and bobs to it, and concepts and features. So without any further ado, let's get right into the deep dive on this SIG 224. All right, so as I just introduced, the SIG P224. This is a fun little pistol to talk about. A lot of neat things kind of going on with this thing. I don't know how many people have seen one or shot one, or maybe even knew that it existed. But as I alluded to in the intro, it's really a chopped down version of a 229 or 228. And the concept is obviously, to bring a model into that subcompact kind of family, right? You've got your full size, your compact, and there's always a liking for an even smaller gun. But that still is, has all the same features and quality and manual of arms, etc., to the larger, either full size or compact, but in a subcompact. And that's what SIG, I believe, is trying to do here. Very, very baby Glock type concept, in my opinion. You have got the Glock 19 down to the Glock 26. I think this smells, looks, and feels all about that, from a 229, 228 down to this 224. So no surprise in terms of what they were trying to do, and no surprise that they were trying to appeal a concealed carry civilian market that was looking for smaller firearms. And then there's always the attraction to the law enforcement market and customers that they already had using 226s and 229s. Again, wanting a smaller off-duty package, maybe even a detective style gun, but I think more of this aligned to the off-duty officer, but still again had all of the quality and features and again manual of arms that he or she would have been familiar with their duty size weapon. So conceptually, I think it's pretty easy to figure out. Unfortunately, the gun only survived about 5 years in production, and I think that has a lot to do with the big pendulum swinging over in the to the striker fired. SIG introduced the 320 in 2014, I believe, and of course their 365, and all of the market kind of shift and interest to that. So unfortunately not. I get that. I think this gun could have been more successful, and I'm going to talk about that as we get down into this gun. But I can see what happened here and why this didn't make it the success that probably SIG hoped it would. Timeline, as usual, let's just kind of quickly run through that. And this is a quick one because, like I said, they only made it for 5 years. It was introduced in 2012 as a DAO, actually, my understanding, and not to be confused with the DAK, a DAO, double action only. And then in 2013, they did come out with the traditional double action, single action, which is what we have here. And also then they introduced the DAK or double action Kellerman trigger. This particular model, before I forget, is a 2013 manufacturing date. So it is definitely the early production side of the double action, single action. And then in 2016, they discontinued it. So this 2012 to 2016 production run was about it. And again, for the reasons I talked about, I think unfortunately we know why that was. Before we kind of get into the deep dive, just maybe a few other points about it. There was this particular model is 9mm. That was also in 40 Smith & Wesson and 357 Sig. The traditional DASA trigger, they did have the SRT trigger available, and they also produced an SAS model, and I think they also did one or two other models. There were 3 or 4 versions of the 224 in terms of like the standard and the SAS and that kind of thing. But this one is a traditional double action, single action, but we'll walk around all those points. And this was an about a 11 or close to a $1,200 gun list price new. Ironically, they're still holding their value, maybe even more than some other SIGs. And I think that is because of maybe the scarcity and the small production run. There are some idiosyncrasies about this gun that we really want to get into on the deep dive. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's do our traditional walk around. Of course, this pistol is clear, but we'll do that so everybody's comfortable with that. So our walk around, I think the very first thing you have to talk about is just the kind of the physical layout. We've already talked about the subcompact baby Glock kind of feel or look. You can easily see that through the entire pistol. And the 10,000 or the 8,000-pound gorilla in the room is this kind of chopped down grip with this flat base plate. And I'm going to come back to that because it's a really, really important point about this gun. In fact, it is the gun, and I'll make that point clear here in a minute. But our traditional walk around, let's also do the specs real quick so we don't forget to do that. I know you guys love the specs. It's a 25.4 ounce pistol as you see it, empty with 1 magazine in it, or the short magazine. It has a 3.5 inch barrel. So it is a traditional 229 barrel, I think, is 3.9 if I remember correctly. So definitely a shorter barrel, and of course a shorter slide then in frame to match. And we had a 6.7 inch total length, 4.5 height, and 1.3 width. And again, we'll kind of talk about all those features. Let's do our traditional, starting up at the slide. The slide is a stainless steel slide with a very, again, traditional Sig Sauer nitron finish, beautifully done. This one has got some nice machining, in my opinion. We've got the traditional kind of cutout here on the top of the slide. We've got full rear serrations here on the back. So not a kind of a half serration that you might see on some of the older P-Series models. Full serrations here on both sides of the slide. No serrations up front, very clean up front, if you will, but again, very nicely done. Very traditional, right? This looks like any other P-Series here, kind of this very, very nice smooth carry over to the slide. And then on this side, again, full length serrations here. And a very pronounced and actually very beefy extractor, especially for a 9mm. I found this really interesting. I think it's even a little beefier than my 1990 version 228 and 40 cal. This is just, I found that kind of interesting. No markings on this side of the slide. As you can see on this side, we had stamped Sig Sauer p224, of course. And the gun came with standard Sig night sights. And again, this is a 2013 model, and believe it or not, these sights still glow, and fairly well. I mean, it's certainly dim at 10 years, but still glowing. So that's a credit to them in that regard. Already talked a little bit about the length, so let's get down onto the frame. This was, again, traditional aluminum frame with the anodize that Sig would of course normally use. You have some nice again, obviously we have a shorter pistol here, so Sig machined all this down, and you have kind of a nice little bevel here. There's no rail, so this harks back to the original 228s and 229s and 226s with no rail. It's kind of just a really nice machining as they came around on that. I think they did a really nice job on that. And working back, you've got your slide release, just a nice piece there. Nothing over the top, not too large. Traditional decocker here for Sig that we all know, and then a very, very small and recessed slide lock, slide stop. I think it's actually the same one that the SAS version uses, kind of this anti-snag. I'm not always sure why they do that, to be honest with you. I'd be interested in other people's opinions. If you already have one lever that's out far enough, and this is a pretty important lever if you're trying to get your gun back in the fight. I always found that interesting that these are so small, but maybe somebody has a different opinion on that. Coming down to the rest of the frame, you have a fairly decent sized trigger guard. Again, this would be for your gloved hands with a law enforcement concept in mind. A little bit of a bevel here, decent bevel underneath. Pronounced mag release, of course. We'll get to the mag in a minute. That's an important part of this gun. The E2 grips are very nice. There's a kind of a love-hate relationship, I think, with E2 grips. I'm on the love part of that dance card, I guess. I like the E2 grips a lot. They fit my hand well. I do admit that, this material, though, in the summer, rubbing up against your skin with only a t-shirt on, let's say, is pretty tough. You almost have to come up with a different concept, I think, if you're gonna do that. Also, notice this interesting hump. There's definitely more of a pronounced hump on this 224 than other Sig P-Series pistols. I found that very interesting. As we walk around this side, we've got the New Hampshire manufacturing information. Barrel is stamped 9mm, and of course the serial number. No other controls on this side, but you could make the mag release ambi. And what else do I have to tell you here? Full hammer, full traditional hammer there, the SAS version. I've seen that in two different, I've seen the SAS, and maybe that was some kind of aftermarket or somebody put the full hammer on, I don't know, but I think most of the SAS versions would have had the recessed hammer, which I think is really cool. I don't know why Sig just didn't do that for all of the models in a subcompact. I don't understand the full hammer. Of course, DAK wouldn't have a full hammer. Anyways, DAO I don't believe would have a full hammer, so I don't really know why they did that. Front serrations here, which are very nice actually on the, whoops, sorry about that, on the front strap. Very, very well done. Okay, really the part about this gun is all about the magazine, believe it or not. So this is the one of the magazines that you would get. This is the 9mm, so it's a 12 round, so you got a nice capacity here in this flush magazine. Of course, a traditional Sig mag, all metal, nice base plate and all that. You saw it inserted originally in the firearm, right flat. This all looks great, right? Right up into the point where you really can't get anything but two fingers on here. And I have no idea why Sig didn't, and probably just the length of production. I don't know why Sig never came out with a pinky extension. But what they did come out with, and it was an option, was this. And this is the 15-round mag with this kind of custom sleeve. And I will tell you, minus the positive of having a 15-round mag, this makes this gun. And I'm going to say it again. This makes this gun. I had shot this gun a few years ago without this extended magazine. And I did not care for it. I did not find it effective to shoot. I couldn't get a solid grip on it. It was moving around on my hand. I actually didn't care for the firearm. And I had read that, this is really the feature that you need on this gun. And I can say 100% that it literally transforms the gun. In fact, it is the gun, in my opinion. The way that this transforms this firearm, the way you can hold on to it, for me in my hand, it was a game changer. I don't know why Sig, and again, probably the length of production run, I don't know why Sig did not just supply these all the time as part of the package, or again, come up with some kind of pinky extension, but this made the gun. And so I have to state, if you're looking at one of these, of course, they're all probably going to be used unless you are very lucky to find a new in box or old stock or something like that. And it does happen. But getting this mag or finding a package with this mag, in my opinion, if you're interested in the 224, is really the only way to go. And I believe they did make the extended mag for both 9mm and the 40 Smith & Wesson and the 357 Sig. So it's out there. Again, I was very, very fortunate to stumble into this firearm. It was basically in new condition, in my opinion. I'm not sure it ever been shot. The price was still up there a little bit. Again, these guns are kind of holding their value, I think, because there is a little bit of uniqueness to it. But, again, getting back to this magazine, and, maybe I kind of ran through that quickly, but that's really what this is a P229 mag. And I should make that statement. I really should have a Sig 229 mag out here as well. But this gun will take the P229 mag, and I used it at the range. It functions absolutely fine. So that is a workaround. If you can't find this mag, and I know people are price gouging these mags because, well, you just can't find them. They didn't make a lot of them. You can use a P229 mag. It doesn't look as pretty, right? Because you're going to have the mag sticking out, but you can make it work, and it will give you some level of grip on the gun with the 229 mag sticking out. Now, I will say the other thing I noticed when I was changing mags with this firearm, when you've extracted the mag or removed the mag, you're back to not a lot of grip to hold on here. So again, I think it's really good that they did use the E2 grips, because you really need to hold on to this firearm. The other point I wanted to make, again, all full metal 15 round on this one. The other point I wanted to make was that I think there's an optical illusion here with this firearm. With this extended mag, it makes it look really long and kind of maybe a little weird. Believe it or not, if I put my 229, and this is a clear and safe firearm as well, if I put my 229, probably don't want to do it this way, Legion, and we line that up, and I'll try to do that as best I can. Believe it or not, and I know it's not a perfect match, and it's a little hard to do on camera, you'll have to kind of take my word for it. Only that mag just extends a little bit, and again, the camera's kind of overemphasizing that there's not that much gap here. These guns are very, very close in size, height-wise, and of course that's the important part generally for concealment. And of course, but you have a very, very nice reduction in barrel length there. So just a kind of a quick look at a 229, because again, this has this optical illusion that this is a giantly tall firearm, and it's really not the case. Even here on camera, I think it's kind of over exaggerating it. There was some talk. I think people also felt that maybe this was a little bit of a top-heavy gun because the frame had been cut down. I didn't find that at all, especially fully loaded firearm. And shooting it at the range yesterday, it was fantastic. In 9mm, again, with the extended mag, I found it a pleasure to shoot. Really just like a 229 or a 228, but you get the added benefit of a smaller package overall. So it was it was really a very, very nice firearm. The double action, this is not an SRT trigger, so this is very traditional double action, single action from Sig. So you've got a long but smooth, not overly long, it's just long, smooth double action pull, and I found the single action to be very good. I don't really feel the need to add an SRT. I could do it, I might do it, but I didn't walk away after shooting it stating, "Oh, I've really got to do something with this trigger." I didn't walk away with that at all. So that's the P224, and like I said, I find it very interesting in what Sig was trying to do. I think they had a great concept. I think they got bit with the fact that maybe they didn't provide the right accessories with this gun after they chopped it down, which I understand the chop down concept, but then if you're struggling shooting it well or holding on to it and just can't get that proper grip, then you're not comfortable with the gun and you won't shoot it as well and you won't be as comfortable carrying it. So I think that, and then of course, probably the fact that they saw all of this movement to the striker fire and the 320 and the 365, that they didn't want to put any more time and energy and engineering resources into it. So I get it, but I will say that it is a very, very nice firearm for the reasons I talked about, and in this particular configuration, it was very nice. It's a great little subcompact firearm, and of course, if perhaps for other people this isn't that much of a bother, maybe this just works for you. I know some people don't mind kind of their pinky holding off there. It just bothered me enough, and I just could not get that grip. Maybe if you have much bigger, meatier hands and you're kind of coming all over this gun, maybe you don't need that full 3-finger grip. But my small to medium to small hands did. And so that's why that other magazine. But in this configuration, you can see it's very concealable, right? You've got a nice flat base plate, and the chop down frame and slide work really well. So again, I hope you guys liked it. I hope the information was useful. It'd be interesting if any of you all have the gun and what you thought of it. Again, I shot it several years ago and just did not care for it. But as soon as I added this magazine, it kind of just completed the package for me. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you again very, very soon on the Daily Defender.